Hello, I'm Austin Heyman. Welcome to Seniors Today, a monthly program produced by the Commission on Aging and devoted entirely to issues and interests of Montgomery County seniors. This month we learn about fire prevention and fire safety issues, and we hear how we can be wiser consumers. But first we begin today's show with a sensitive topic, the rise of HIV and sexually transmitted disease in the senior population. And joining me to tell us more are Dr. Alder Tillman, the Montgomery County Health Officer, and Dr. Carolyn Williams, Chief of Epidemiology of the Division of AIDS at the National Institute of Health. Well, welcome to Seniors Today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Williams, tell us a little bit about, you're involved with research grants, and what have we learned from these grants?
Right. So when HIV first started in the United States, around 1978, 79, we think it came, and then my office was mostly concentrated on understanding the epidemic and the virus and its impact on people. Today, with the highly active antiretroviral agents, so HAART therapy, we spend most of our research time looking at how the therapy works in patients with HIV.
And in Montgomery County, is this
Yes.
an issue?
Actually, for seniors, it is definitely an issue. Number one, people living with AIDS, HIV disease, are aging. They're getting older. And number two, we are aware that seniors, or those 55 years and older, continue to have sexual activity, and they apparently are also engaging in risky behaviors. So we've got 10% of, say, back in 2010, when we last had full numbers, 10% of our new HIV cases were among those 55 years and older.
You've been tracking these cases for a long time. What happens as somebody ages?
Well, without therapy, the situation is very serious. And people can be expected to live only about 12 years without therapy. But now with therapy, people should live a nearly full lifespan. The medications are difficult and there's some side effects, but people who are tested and treated early should live a normal life. However, they may be at higher risk for some of the other diseases of aging, and they may have those diseases at a younger age. So things like heart disease, diabetes, loss of mental function, these may happen slightly earlier in HIV-infected patients.
You may be more susceptible to.
Yes.
It's a little bit like, well, I mean, I'm familiar with polio. People who had polio, and as they age, they tend to have additional or renewed problems. Perhaps
Right.
it's similar to that.
Yeah, I think late polio syndrome is, I think there's some uncertainties about exactly why that happens, but we can see with HIV that it's an added burden on the system. And while treatment is very effective at controlling the virus, there are still some residual problems with the immune system that make you more susceptible. And one thing, for instance, that we're concerned about is that this damaged immune system won't be able to respond as well to cancer, and that people with HIV might be at increased risk for cancer as they get older.
Do you have a website, or is there information?
Well, the Centers for Disease Control has an excellent website at cdc.gov, and you can always find information about all diseases, including other sexually transmitted
Right.
infections that are important in this population. But there's another website made by one of our grantees called AIDSView, so it's AIDSVU.org. And on there you can see the data from the Center for Disease Control, their data presented in a really nice graphical way by county, by men and women, and by different age groups. And you can really explore the epidemic by looking at these maps.
And what do we know about those who are over 50 who have become recently infected? Is that an issue, a problem?
Certainly HIV is still transmitted in the elderly, as you said, and we know that elderly are engaged in behaviors that put them at risk. We see an increase in sexually transmitted diseases in the elderly, which indicates that they are at risk for HIV. There are some infections in the elderly, but the reason the elderly population is growing the most is that they're living longer with their HIV. So in the United States, in the next few years, almost a third of all people with HIV will be over the age of 50.
So basically it's the people who were infected when they were in their 20s and 30s
Who now survive.
plus some that are newly infected.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And in Montgomery County, are there resources for people that?
There certainly are. The Department of Health and Human Services has a HIV/AIDS program at 2000 Dennis Avenue in Silver Spring, which is a comprehensive program that can go from diagnostic and evaluation to treatment support and psychological support, housing, the whole works. So they can provide that care for individuals, particularly those who don't have insurance. And we also have an education component attached to that, because a message that we really need to convey to all, including seniors, is that you do have to think about prevention. If you're going to have sexual activity, particularly with more than one partner, you've got to think about protecting yourself with the use of condoms. You've got to think twice about—
Even if you're over 50?
Oh yes, and you've got to think twice about some of these risky behaviors. So I mean, issues of men having sex with men, using, you know, drugs, particularly IV drugs, those are things that put you at increased risk for HIV disease as well as other sexually transmitted infections.
You mentioned Dennis Avenue. Is there a phone number or?
Yes, there is a phone number that they can reach, and that's 240-777-1869.
So that's a terrific. So there's a lot of resources in the
Yes.
county and for information
state.
from the Institute.
Right, and also on that same website, aidsview.org, you can look for testing centers, and the Dennis Avenue one is on there, as well as some other testing facilities, one catering more toward Hispanic members of the community. So there's a testing center for everyone.
In our area, there's one.
Yes, and the Center for Disease Control does recommend that every American get tested for HIV at least once. And then in discussion with your healthcare provider, you can determine how frequently you should be tested for HIV. But getting tested and getting into care early are the keys to having the benefits of the new therapy. If you don't know you're infected, you can infect other people, and you don't get the health care that you need to get the full benefits.
So, as you say, we have these new therapies which are so helpful to people, but if they don't get tested, what's the point
They'll
of
never know about
They
it.
don't get it. Yeah.
So there's some terrific resources locally and nationally, and thank you very much for coming in to share this important information to us.
Thanks
You're
for having
welcome.
us.
When we come back, we'll tell you what you should know about fire safety and protecting your health. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Have you ever parked illegally in a reserved, accessible parking space?
And thought, what's the harm? I'm only going to be a minute.
We know how important it is to have reserved parking.
And the adjacent striped access aisles provide necessary space needed for assistance devices like my wheelchair and my service dog.
Respect the need for reserved parking and the laws that govern its use.
On behalf of everyone with accessible plates and placards,
We are asking you
to respect the space.
Serving your community is a great feeling. The Montgomery County Volunteer Center can connect you to hundreds of volunteer opportunities available throughout the area. Are you a student, senior, professional, community group, or business looking to serve? Simply visit our website to select what's right for you and get great ideas from past projects with our volunteer toolkits, or share a success story of your own. The Montgomery County Volunteer Center. Make an impact in your community. Where will you serve?
Welcome back to Seniors Today. October is Fire Prevention Month, and who better to tell us more than Montgomery County's Fire Chief, Richie Bowers. Well, welcome to Seniors Today.
Thank you, Austin. Glad to be here.
Fire Prevention Month's coming up now, and you're obviously very busy. What are the concerns about the safety of seniors?
Well, Austin, the most important thing that we need to make sure seniors understand and really do, and we're here to help, is to make sure they have a working smoke alarm. That's the first important thing.
That sounds simple.
It is, but unfortunately, in Montgomery County, about 50% of the residences here in Montgomery County do not have a working smoke alarm.
Wow.
And most of those are in the senior population. So we want to make sure they have a working smoke alarm.
So the the statistics are not good. Fatalities over the last several years, there have been a lot of senior fatalities.
Unfortunately, our last fatalities, fire death-wise, here in Montgomery County have been the senior population.
And partly due to the smoke detectors. What do you see happening? Is it from cooking or from?
Some of the common threads that we've seen with the last residential fires we've had in the county associated with the fire deaths are the fact that, one, they didn't have a working smoke alarm. Mm-hmm. Number two, it did involve a senior. And number three, it was either a cause of smoking materials or cooking on the stove that caused the fire. Those seem to be the two most prevalent things. So the common threads really do concern me and the county executive.
And so you've initiated a program called Safety in Our Neighborhood. What does that entail?
It's a incredible program in which our firefighters and paramedics engage with the community on Saturday afternoons, weather permitting, in which we go into the community and check homes for working smoke alarms. We do free safety checks as it relates to trying to prevent slip, trips, and falls. And really, we just completed an initiative with the county executive this past month, and in this month and next month too, we will consider going and continuing this, and that is getting to all the senior population to make sure that, one, they have a working smoke alarm, and number two, that we try to prevent the 911 call with respect to eliminating any slip, trips, or falls.
Fall prevent, yeah. I think I saw some statistics that there were 3,000 911 calls for people over 60 in 2010 and 2,100 for people over 80. That's amazing, having to do with falls.
It is, and Austin, we offer this free of service. The Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service will come out to anyone's home, wherever you live here in the county, and we'll look at your home and make sure that things are in order so that there's not a slip, trip, or fall.
So how does somebody get your attention? How do we get?
Very simple. Here's what we advocate. We want to prevent the 911 call. So what we want to tell everybody, Austin, especially the senior population, dial 311 before you have to dial 911.
So 311 gets you to be able to get on the inspection list for our Saturday in the neighborhood.
And it's free. Again, I just want to emphasize that.
What about carbon monoxide? Is that a?
It's the silent killer. It's odorless, it's colorless. And carbon monoxide is something that really displaces oxygen. And like your furnace, if it's not operating and functioning correctly, there's a mixture of gas or whatever type of fuel that drives it, if you will. Right. The combustion's not right. It fills the air or displaces the oxygen. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of carbon monoxide deaths here in Montgomery County.
So there's a gauge for that too, isn't there?
There is. We do offer that same service. We have limited number of carbon monoxide detectors, but we are more than willing, again, if people dial 311 and ask us to come out and check their smoke alarm, their CO detector, as well as any of their fire safety or slip, trip, or fall issues that they may have in their home.
In regard to the falls, what are the particular issues there? Why do people fall more likely?
Sometimes, especially in our senior population, railings might be loose. A rug on a hardwood floor or ceramic floor that's not placed
secure.
Exactly, those kind of things.
Some of those scatter rugs, I think, are hazard.
Exactly. So what we do is when someone dials 311 and they ask for a free home safety inspection, we'll come out, as I said, check the smoke alarm, the CO detector, but we also look, especially for the seniors, where can we prevent the 911 call by eliminating some of those slip, trips, and falls. Yep.
On another subject, I read in the paper recently that the ambulance reimbursement issue, which was such a controversial, has been resolved. Can you tell us where we are with that?
We have Bill 1712, which has been enacted by the County Council. We did work with everyone involved with respect to the volunteers and the career firefighters in the county, and we've come to an agreement that this is the best thing for the county. One of the most important things that I want to make sure that I emphasize to the senior population and to everybody, but in particular the senior population, is number one, they'll never get a bill, all right? Number two, They need to call 911. They should never be afraid to call 911 regardless. But this is seamless. And the most other important thing is the reimbursement revenue from the EMS transport legislation will go directly to enhancing the fire and rescue service.
Oh, that's
and
terrific.
That's extremely important.
And new equipment
And community outreach and
community-
education and all those things.
Well, that's
training, yes.
Well, that's happy news.
It is. So again, just to emphasize, no county resident will ever get a bill. Never, ever will they see anything like that. And number two, they need to call 911 regardless. Never be afraid to call 911.
Well, that's terrific. Well, you do a terrific job. We're very fortunate. I know people who are always talking about how wonderful is the response rate of the fire department, rescue department. It's just terrific. So knowing that you can call and get somebody to come to the house is I think a terrific service. I'm sorry to hear that the senior population seems to be so vulnerable, but that's part of life, I guess.
It is. Our most vulnerable residents here in Montgomery County are our senior population and our children. And that's where we emphasize, for example, the free home safety inspections, smoke alarm checks, but also our car safety seat program has been huge for children. And we've had, unfortunately, a lot of accidents where children have lost their life. But with our car safety seat check and installation program, we have saved a lot of lives. So those two areas, very vulnerable population here.
And I guess one other thing I read about is the idea of having a fire escape plan. That's sort of important too.
It is very fundamental. Know how to get out and stay out. That's so important. And then call 911 once you're out. A lot of people make the mistake to call 911 and stay inside. What we say is, with your great escape, or fire safety escape, get out, stay out, and call 911.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming in. It's a great service that you perform. We thank you for it.
Thank you, Austin. I appreciate it.
When we return, we'll tell you what you need to know to protect yourself as a consumer. So please stay right with us, and we'll be back.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that! That's disgusting! Oh, poop already! You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Welcome back to Seniors Today. Seniors represent 12% of the U.S. population, but are 35% of all scam victims. From investment fraud to lottery and sweepstakes scams to home improvement schemes, seniors are often the targets for criminals looking to steal cash. What can we do to protect ourselves and our savings? Joining me is Ralph Vines, the Investigative Programs Administrator for the County's Office of Consumer Protection. Welcome, Ralph.
Thank you, Austin.
So the Office of Consumer Protection, that's a big name. What is it you do?
Well, we like to consider ourselves the police for people that buy things. So we consider consumers someone who conduct a transaction in Montgomery County. So whether you go to a place of business or whether the business comes to you, you are a consumer. So in that vein, we take complaints regarding automotive purchases, home improvement contractors, credit complaints, complaints about telephone solicitations, complaints about retail purchases. So if you go and buy furniture or clothing, almost any item where you're acting as a consumer, buying something for your personal or household usage, you are then under our jurisdiction to assist you if you have a complaint or dispute with that product or that business.
Wow, that's terrific. Give us an idea of some of the most pressing ones today. For example, I understand that contractors coming to the door of your house is a problem that you guys have been...
Yes, sir. We are seeing that unlicensed, unscrupulous contractors do tend to prey on seniors. And as you can imagine, you may have let some of your home repairs go. So the unlicensed contractor may be driving through your neighborhood. They usually try to pick an established neighborhood, looking for cars in the driveway midday where senior consumers may be home, and then they offer you a variety of services. They can trim the trees for you. They can repave your driveway. They can paint. They can fix your roof. A lot of times these guys are unlicensed, and all they're looking for is the quick sale. So you may hear them saying, we have a little asphalt left on our truck. We just finished a big job at a neighbor's house in your neighborhood.
I remember, I had that experience, yeah.
Yes, sir, and that is exactly how they get their foot in the door, and then you find that they will give you a contract price that may be low originally, but then when they finish the work, they come in with all the extras. They did extra work. The job is more than what they originally told you it would be. So those are the typical household scams.
So the answer to that one is don't let them come. Don't accept the offer.
Well, we do encourage seniors to just say no, like the police say with the drugs.
Right.
Just say no. Someone knocking at your door you do not know, they're really a stranger, and you should not be letting them into your home. It's okay to accept a business card, but always check them out before you give them any monies or sign any contracts.
One of the things has been in the papers over the last few months is the issue of towing cars. Has that come up in your office?
Yes, sir. Towing is probably our #1 individual complaints, because when we say home improvement, that includes plumbing and electrical, but towing, an individual drives to a location, they park their car, they believe they're safe because they're in a mall or in a parking area, not realizing that there were some signs when they pulled into the parking area that may have designated some rules and regulations saying you can only park for a certain hour or you must be at a certain place of business. And we find that if the individual walks away from the business they park in front of, but let's say that business is not associated with what they're purchasing, then under certain rules, the owner of that lot can have your car towed, and then, of course, you're all upset because your vehicle is now no longer where you parked it. Individuals typically will call the police to be told that the car was taken by a tower. Our law has been in effect since 1992 regarding registration of towing, and there are certain requirements that a tower must do. They must be registered, and they must allow you to pay for your vehicle by use of credit card or with a check and identification. Now, it is important to know that the state, last legislative session, also passed a statewide law that will affect consumers and people that drive in Montgomery County with respect to towing.
So the answer to that is you really have to be careful. I mean, you go to a mall and you park in front of the deli, and what you're saying is that the deli has a parking, and then if you go to the barber shop, you're in trouble.
Yes, sir, that is correct. So the deli may have 5 assigned parking spaces, and the barber shop may have 5 assigned parking spaces. If you park at the deli and walk to the barber, your car could be towed.
Wow. A new one you mentioned before we went on the air to me was this whole question of air duct cleaning.
Yes, sir. Another rash of complaints we're seeing that seems to target seniors. Typically, you'll get a coupon in the flyer or in the mail that say clean your ducts for $99 or a certain amount.
I've gotten them, yeah.
And what happens is almost no one, with regards to complaints we've seen, have gotten work done for that amount. What happens is they upsell or oversell. So they get in, they start the process, and they almost immediately tell you they found the problem. You have mold, or you have some condition that requires them
additional treatment.
Additional treatment usually means
additional expense.
Cost.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We've seen those $99 complaints go as high as $4,000.
Wow.
Typically, they're over $2,000. Wow. And unfortunately, no consumer we've spoken to has actually seen the mold, but they'll come back with a handful of dust and say, oh, it's a dangerous situation, when in fact, these guys are carpet cleaners and they're not doctors or biologists.
So what should somebody do? Are you call your office or what?
Yes, sir. We would definitely encourage a consumer who, before they get ripped off, it's best to call us and see if there are any complaints on record with our office, and we will give some pre-purchase advice. We'll tell a consumer what to look out for, not to be talked into exaggerated claims of mold or some other health issue.
So we'll give the viewers your phone number.
Yes, sir. I'll give it out now. It is 240-777-3636. That is the main number to the Office of Consumer Protection.
You also have I noticed, I think it's called Office Online Information. You have a lot of information on the internet.
Yes, sir. We do believe that the best consumer is an informed consumer. So our website does allow you to go on. You can look up complaints. We actually have some videos of cars being towed and other transactions through our YouTube interface. But yes, sir, we have a website that will allow you to look up, for example, if you want to click on furniture purchases, moving contractors, that will give you tips that may often
That'd
state
be very
the
helpful.
law.
Can you give the website?
Yes, sir. We are Consumer Protection, MontgomeryCountyMD.gov.
Well, it's a terrific resource for the county, and you have people who actually you can go out and investigate and look at some of these issues.
Yes, sir. We have 9 full-time investigators that do active complaints. In addition, we have someone on duty Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So you can call our office, ask for the investigator on duty, discuss the specific issue you're concerned with, and they can give you pre-purchase advice that may save you tons of dollars.
That's terrific. A great resource. Thank you for coming in and telling us about it.
You're welcome, Austin. Glad to do it today.
Nice to see you. Don't forget that you can access a great deal of information about county services for seniors by going to the Montgomery County Senior website at www.montgomerycountymd.gov/seniors, or call the Senior Resource Line at 240-777-3000. Also, we have a new email address that you can use to send us comments or suggestions for future topics on our show. It's seniorstoday@montgomerycountymd.gov. And as always, thank you for watching Seniors Today.
Along with weight loss, it's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
For those dealing with the daily struggles of caring for a loved one, we hear you. That's why AARP created a community with experts and other caregivers to help us better care for ourselves and the ones we love.
Here's your chance to save money and help the environment. Bring your reusable bag when you shop and you'll save 5 cents for every store bag you don't need. Retailers in Montgomery County charge 5 cents for the plastic or paper bags they provide. Why? Because plastic bags are the biggest single source of stream and waterway litter, causing pollution and flooding. And every year, Montgomery County spends $3 million on cleanup. So do yourself and the environment a favor. Bring your reusable bag when you shop. You'll fight litter and keep the change.